I'm 150 miles an hour pretty much all the time. And he was this calm presence. And I learned from him that authority doesn't have to be loud. Authority is in you. You bring your authority when you know who you are. It doesn't have to be loud. If you're trying to push your authority and be loud and bossy and demanding, to me, that's not real authority. When somebody walks with that knowledge and presence, they own it. And he showed me the difference between that. And I had to learn. I made a lot of mistakes trying to force things.
Welcome to Warriors at Work. This is Jeannie Coomber, your guide and host. Warriors at Work is a place where everyone in the workplace can come together, gain insight, encouragement, tell stories, connect, and share wisdom. We are a place of like-minded people at different stages of life, all coming together with a shared interest of enlightening and inspiring one another. If you're interested in going from the predictable to the potent, and you want to find your warrior magic, step into the journey with us. Welcome to Warriors at Work. Hi, everybody. It's Jeannie. Thanks so much for joining me at the Warriors at Work podcast. So today I'm talking with Lori Templeton. This is someone with 25 years of combined educational, military, and administrative leadership experience. And we talk about leadership through a slightly different lens. Lori's story is someone who has had so many different personal experiences and professional experiences. And what it's taught her is how to lead herself, but also how to inspire and empower leadership in others. And we walk through the story of Lori, what makes her unique in the world, how she sees things, and her capacity to reframe really, really challenging things in a way that prompts a ton of gratitude and a lot of heart. You're really going to enjoy this personal conversation with this incredible leader, Lori Templeton. Welcome to the Warriors at Work podcast. I'm Jeannie Coomber, your guide and host on this journey. So today we're talking about leading, but leading through a different lens. This is the idea about leading yourself and imparting that wisdom and that skill onto others that surround you. And I am fortunate enough to have a very, very, very special person here with me today, Lori Templeton. So Lori, thank you so much for being in this conversation with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to share today. So thank you so much.
So we're going to dive right in because the thing that strikes me about you, you've had such a diverse life and career. And I would love for you to first start by describing yourself, just yourself in the world as if it were an analogy.
Oh my goodness. I have the weirdest analogy, so you'll have to flow with me. The scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, when I think about that is literally how I would describe kind of myself in life. Not that I don't have a brain, not that I'm searching for it, because that's where everybody's going to go first. But if you look into the character and how he related to the world, how he saw things, he was the heart to the Tin Man who didn't have a heart. And his wisdom and what he was able to share with people was something that wasn't a mind thing. It was a heart thing. It was a presence. It was who he was created to be. He ended up in the end being considered the wisest character in the thread. And he was wise enough to know that he wasn't the wisest and he needed to turn that control over to somebody who had that more experience. So even in that, he was able to see you don't know what you don't know, and you need to gather people around you with more knowledge to be successful.
I love that story. And you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's basically the scarecrow's getting a bad rap. And if you really think about it, he's filled with wisdom well beyond his age.
Yeah. And even his mannerisms, he's silly and he's fun and he's light and he doesn't see the issues. If you think about it, he's like, I mean, he has those odd body movements. Look, watch the movie. he doesn't go on a straight path through the whole thing. They're trying to go down the Yellow Brick Road, and the scarecrow is like lumbering everywhere, and he's kicking his feet up here and over there, and he doesn't go straight anywhere.
Mm.
And on the surface, people are gonna go, he's crazy, he's wild, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's everywhere. But really, he knows him, and he sees life through the lens of possibility and love, and he has a vision. My vision is to get a brain. Even though he has it, so he can lock on his vision and he doesn't get distracted. He's got that vision. He just goes about it a different path.
You know, I was so curious when we were preparing for this conversation. You said so many things about yourself, and I wanted to break down some of this. You said things like, "I'm a diamond in the rough. I am a caretaker. You love broken things, and you have this deep, deep way of seeing the value in other people. It's almost like it's intuitive, like superpower." Yeah. Where does that passion come from?
I don't know where it came from because it's always been. If anything, I would have to say that, my dad and my parents, I grew up in a very traditional, very loving home, and they just saw the possibilities in people and didn't have that judgment piece to them. So that just kind of was a norm. And, we didn't grow up with a lot of money or anything, but you didn't know what you didn't know. So I remember my dad would go hunting and fishing, and we ate steak and lobster. And I grew up on abalone and fresh garden food. And I didn't realize it was because of a money issue. That's what everybody ate. I became an adult and had to actually go look to buy abalone. And I was like, what? $48 a pound? Yeah, this stuff is surprise. So I would attribute some of that is just I had just such a blessing growing up that I didn't see a lot. And so I didn't have these innate prejudices, and the way my mind just works, I guess, I see people in situations for possibilities. I literally look over what's currently in front of me. I don't see it. So it's hard to describe where it came from because it's just how I'm wired.
One of the things that you shared with me relating to how you see value and you're fascinated by people's experiences in the world is, so the facility that you're a part of, there's a woman who taught men how to pilot in World War II. So let's share that story because it's so cool.
Yeah, so I have the pleasure of working at the California Veterans Yountville. It's a veterans home here in Yountville. And we have 22 World War II vets still here that have fascinating stories, including females. So I have the pleasure, we sat down and talked to one of the first female Marines. She worked on the flight line in World War II and instructed and taught NCOs. So she was one of the first instructors, NCOs, to prep and pilot. So she wasn't teaching the flyers. As a female, you had so many restrictions. But when I was sitting, what captured me is she's like, I was the first female Marine. I was on the flight line and I was snapping those boys in shape. And, she's in her 90s and is fiery and remembers doing that. And it was just incredible to be in that presence, as a female coming through. And we think we have it rough. Look, go talk to some of the females that had to endure the hardships and listen to their stories. I got to sit and have lunch, 3 most amazing ladies. And, we had somebody that was in the WASP, which was the women's military before women could go in the military. And then a Navy female. And they talked about Treasure Island out by Oakland when it was a military base. And they talked about being one of the 20 females out of 2,000 men being allowed to.
Wow.
Can you imagine what they went through?
No.
It's just mind blowing. And to be able to glean that perspective from somebody who has so much wisdom is just incredible. So I grow every time I sit down and talk with somebody because it puts me in check. Like, if you want to feel like you got it rough, go talk to somebody who lived 60 and 80 years ago. They'll put you in a reality check. What we can do now and the freedoms we have are because of what they did.
You know what I love about the stories is, being that we're really talking about so much of your brand, your experience in life is very much you embody leadership and you have this learner's mindset where you're always looking to grow and evolve, but you're always looking to impart it. And
Mhm.
I thought of those examples when you were sharing those with me. It's a reinforcement of
Yeah.
how you want to see the world and how you want to experience the world. So you get to surround yourself with these really powerful, palpable reminders of your own capabilities, of your own possibility. And I
Yeah.
think what it highlighted for me is that we sometimes need to step out of our experience and the lane that we're in to get a
Mhm.
different perspective, to
Right.
reinforce the things that we want more for ourselves, which leads me to my next question, because now we're going to step into your military self. You had a specific goal of becoming a company commander, and you had this dream when you were 17. Somebody
Yeah.
talked you out of it,
Yep.
but you never lost focus and said, "No, I really, really want to do this." So tell us that story, and I want you to hit on what were some of the most valuable lessons.
Yeah, I did. I just knew I've always been in service. And so I knew very young I wanted to serve in the military, and I wanted to serve in the Air Force originally, and signed up and at 17, and then allowed fear to prevent me from doing it. And I never let it go. I had 3 children and ended up being a single mom at 28, and went to school and just went down a different path. And I always kept it, but I would never wanted, I never wanted to sign on that dotted line. And
Mm,
I don't know if people realize how much somebody was willing to sacrifice once they sign. What you sign when I die, not if I die, not it
mm,
could be a possibility, but you have to sign a waiver when you have children that assign your children to somebody when you die. And that level of commitment, I just wasn't ready to do when my children were young, because I didn't have the other parental backing in it. The children couldn't go with their dad, so I waited. So I figured, okay, the dream's gone, but I always kind of kept it in my head. So I was young, and my son was 17, and he was looking to go into the military. And as a dutiful mother, I was Googling everything for him, right? And I came across the National Guard, and it said they in 2010 they needed more officers in, and they raised the age to you had to commission by 42. I was 39. I already had all the education, I already had all the qualifications. And so then I had to really face myself.
mm,
Had I been talking, for lack of a better term, talking smack, oh, I wish I could, all my life, or did I really mean what I said?
mm.
And I had to make that decision. I had an opportunity. My kids were grown. I had one out of the house. I had two out of the house. Basically, I'm sorry, my youngest was 17. I had the two older ones out. I was a teacher, so I had summers off. I had no excuse anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I really mean what I mean? And I thought, you know what? My kids have watched me say, I wish I coulda, woulda, and tell the story of the missed opportunity. I would be doing them a disservice and not owning my own true character if I didn't go, it's scary, but this time I've been given a second chance. I'm not letting it go. I'm
Mm.
not letting it go. And I was terrified. I'm like, I'm a grandma. I'm 39 years old. I wasn't a grandma yet, but I felt old. I mean, I'm going to be with all these 18-year-olds. And sure enough, I went to basic training May of 2010 at Fort Jackson. It was the most incredible experience ever. Perspective. That gave me a perspective. 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and they rattle your cage and they get up. Blah, blah, the whole thing you see on the movies, it happens, right? So you march out to the field and it's cold. So South Carolina, Fort Jackson doesn't have dirt. It's like this nasty sand stuff that gets everywhere. And I'm doing PT, and I look up, and I got excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got free gym membership. Like I got a personal trainer. He's up there yelling at me, and I'm doing PT. I didn't have to
Talk
wake
about
my.
reframing. That's like
I'm
the
like, oh my
ultimate
God,
reframe right there.
totally reframing. I'm like, I've got free. Not only is it free gym membership, but they're paying me. Like somebody is paying me to not take care of kids, to just do me, to get in the best shape I've ever done in my life. All I have to do is follow directions. I could do that. I got to do that anyway, right? And then it was a shift. I'm standing in line to get dinner, your chow. And I can cut, you're not supposed to talk online, but I can hear these younger kids and they're complaining about, oh my gosh, somebody's touching my laundry. If you put your stuff in a bag and you put it behind the formation, somebody washes your clothes. I was blown away. And they're like, nobody's going to wash it. I was like, oh my gosh, you get in line and you walk through and point at the food you want and they put it on your tray. And then you're required to sit at the table and not talk and eat quickly. And then all you got to do is take your tray and somebody washes it. Total mind frame blown.
Oh my God.
I felt like I was at summer camp and I'm like, all you want. So I just got to be physically, and it was tough. I mean, it was really physically tough for me at 39. It hurt my body because it was tough. So I don't want to say it's not tough, but it's your mindset. It was tough for me because it was physically tough and I was learning new things and it was military's a different mindset. I didn't know the rules, but because I looked at it like an adventure and a privilege to have somebody make my food for me. I didn't have to do a dish for like 12 weeks. I was so excited. It made it, again, a learning experience. And that's I really started realizing the power that our mind has and the power that we have inside ourselves to choose what is this experience going to be. That was one of the pivotal turns for me to just realize the power that we have inside ourselves to make any situation what we need it to be. It's our choice. I could make it miserable or I could make it good. The pain is still pain, but how I interpret the pain is up to me.
So you pulled that experience into today's environment. So when you get up in the morning, how do you get into this mindset where like, I'm in charge of me, I lead me?
I go to bed with it. So one, I make sure I go to bed. I don't go to bed with emails from work on my mind or any of that. I really do a mindset that I'm thankful and I do gratitude and I get in a very gratitude space when I go to bed. And then I literally listen to things. I play a meditative or some bowls or something that's going to keep me in a positive space, because I believe we learn even when we're not awake. And so I keep that going. So when I wake up, I'm in a prepared space. And then it's really easy to drift off, but I immediately hit with gratitude and that I'm thankful for where I'm at. And it doesn't matter if I'm in the worst place. I woke up in the dirt with it raining with a little shanty tent over me in training. And I was thankful that I had the little tent shanty over my head because there's somebody out there that doesn't. So it's perspective. And I wake up with it and realize I do believe that we create our reality. We create how we perceive our reality. And I start the morning with that mindset. And I listen to things because I fall into it like everybody else. So I will listen to a positive, hey, today's a good day, anything I need to get me. Sometimes I'm having a harder time and I put on my favorite music and then I blare it as loud as I can because I need to rattle the distractions out. And you just come in. It's happy Thursday. It doesn't matter what day, it doesn't matter what's happening. I choose to make it a happy day.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it's such an important reminder. And the fact that you recognize what that experience was about and how you were able to pull it forward. I know there has been a lot of very important and critical people in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Who have been those mentors along the way for you?
So my dad, for sure, it is what it is. It is what it is from him. He had such a calm presence about him. I have a little bit of energy, meaning I could really just, I go. I'm 150 miles an hour pretty much all the time. And he was this calm presence. And I learned from him that authority doesn't have to be loud. Authority is in you. You bring your authority when you know who you are. It doesn't have to be loud. If you're trying to push your authority and be loud and bossy and demanding, to me, that's not real authority. When somebody walks with that knowledge and presence, they own it. And he showed me that, the difference between that. And I had to learn. I made a lot of mistakes trying to force things, especially, in my company commands. I learned a lot that authority isn't something that's a title. It's not something that is that you can force. It's something that you know within you and you can project. And people know they're going to sense it or not. So he really showed me the power of calm and security in yourself type of a thing. And then when I went into teaching, I had a great mentor, Linda DeHart, and she taught me that it's not personal. I went into school because I have a heart for caring. I immediately wanted to teach at-risk youth. I have a heart for youth that is viewed as either damaged or broken or not acceptable to society or whatever. And I'm not devaluing anything that anybody had done. So I don't want it to sound like I'm not acknowledging that maybe these youth created pain for other people. I'm not trying to devalue that at all. However, when I see them, they're kids, and I see them as the people they could be. And so I wanted to reach that population because that's where my heart is. So when I went in, that's a kind of a scary environment when you're around, I was 7th through 12th graders, and they were at the school because they had committed crimes and they were either going to go to CYA, baby jail, so we had kids that had murdered people and they were sex offenders. And these are pretty hardened. This wasn't your truancy group or population. And it was a lockdown facility. We had probation on ground. And so to learn how to teach this population of kids, I had an incredible mentor, and that's one of the things she impressed upon me in my student teaching, which just changed the game for me. She, kind of pointed at the classroom, and she loved these kids. Like, she had a passion, love for these kids, which was real. So they felt it and they knew it, so they could respond to her. And she said, it's not personal. This is their job. They have been trained to do who they are right now. So what they say and they do to you has nothing to do with you. It's who they are, and it's your job to show them who they could be.
I love that. Oh, I love that.
She was incredible. And I had the privilege of working with her for 2 years. I loved her leadership. I am absolutely follow good leadership. Done. You will learn from good leaders, and you learn from bad leaders too. I just wouldn't follow them. Right. So I stayed there for 2 years, and I really grew as an educator and as a person from her. And then when I did I got my first company command, I had an incredible first sergeant who sat me down right off the bat as a young officer and said, he was real enough to go, you have to choose what kind of officer you're going to be. You're going to choose to be an officer of an integrity, or you're going to choose to be an officer that takes shortcuts because they have the availability and the knowledge. And maybe you might promote faster or whatever, but you need to choose who you're going to be, and you need to choose who you're going to be for your soldiers.
I love that. He called out the rules of the game. Like, you have a couple of paths.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those stories, Lori. That's beautiful. And I know I can tell and feel that all of that influenced who you are today in so many ways. I want to get a little personal, because you shared a very, very personal journey that is also a big piece to how you lead and how you operate in your life, which in 2016, you were diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3. Right. And you said your choices created your disease.
Oh yeah. I brought that all on. Not like, I don't feel guilty or bad, or I'm not saying it's, I got to try to be careful. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but at the time, again, I go 150 miles an hour. And I was trying to create life instead of learning to create it through peace. And, I was a gym. I went to the gym. I was obsessed with fitness and weight, and I was obsessed with control. So I was trying to control externally, that power that you have to learn who you are to get the authority to get to control. I was just trying to control everything. I was working probably 60 plus hours a week, I was working at the time. So the National Guard, there's, you kind of dance in two lanes. I was a company commander on the Guard side. I was a TAC officer, which is a training assessment counseling officer at OMI, which is a military institute in Oakland at the time, which it was a full-time, it was teaching. I did some military teaching, but I really ran a program of cadets. And so that was kind of a stressful job. And then I was doing the command at the same time. So I was putting in 60 plus hours a week. And I hadn't learned how to take care of me and find balance yet. And your body can only handle so much stress, and your body and it gave me the signs, and I just ignored them. I didn't have time to go to the doctor. I didn't have time to get my mammogram. So shout out there, go get your mammogram. There's always time. I didn't take time to take care of myself. So I didn't do the obvious things I should have to make. They could have caught the cancer very early on instead of almost in stage 4. There's something I could have done, but I wasn't putting myself as a priority yet. I thought that the right thing to do was to take care of everybody else and to control, and I had to get the company, and everybody else kind of was in front of my own health. And that's why I say I brought it on. I didn't do what I needed to do to take care of myself. I wasn't sleeping. I was taking diet pills because I wanted to not eat. I was drinking because that's how I handle my stress. And I was I was running in instead of stopping it. I didn't meditate at the time. I wasn't tuned into that yet. And I wasn't bringing my body back to balance. So I'm not saying drinking's bad. I'm not saying diet pills are bad. Exercise is clearly not bad. But when you don't balance and center yourself and care for yourself, you're going to break. And I broke. And so the minute I hit the brick wall and I got the diagnosis, I handled it just like I did everything else. I said, okay, I'm going to take me and my cancer, and we're going to go in the elevator, and we're just going to go. Because I was by myself. They didn't tell me I was coming to get a diagnosis like that, And so I was by myself. And I said, so me and my cancer, we're just going to go in the elevator and go home. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. Me and cancer are going to go home. And I just started making phone calls, and I was very aggressive when it came to appointments, and I was calling everybody and anybody. And I'll tell you what, we hit cancer treatment hard and fast. And I was determined that I was going to grow and be a better person for this. And I was so grateful for I was so grateful that I got the cancer at the stage I did. And it's so weird. I sat really early on with somebody in the doctor's office who had blood cancer. And I'd also talked to somebody who had brain cancer. And I'm like, whoa, I just got breast cancer. Look, they cut that right off, and they can put a new one on. I'm going to get a tummy tuck. I'm good. I'm good. I was so grateful. You just do what you got to do, right? So it was every day. Some days I was sick and I felt sick. So I allowed myself to lay on the couch, and I took up coloring. And if I felt I could get up, I got up and I exercised. So I kept exercising. I remember I paid a lot of money to have wigs made, because anybody who's lost their hair, there's not a lot of females running around bald, right? And I thought, I'm 48, single. Oh, even better. I had braces at the time because I was getting my teeth straightened. And I said, oh, MG, I'm bald. I have braces. I'm single, and I'm 48. I'm like, you can't make this up. Or 46, I think I was at the time. I'm like, I just can't make it up. I said, I had to embrace it and go, how do I become a better version of me out of this? And so I paid to get the wigs done. I put them on. My son was amazing. He had this beard he was growing for years. He shaved his beard. I should have sent you the picture. It's awesome. And so we were these two little bald heads, and I put the wig on, and I wore it out of the hairdressers, because as you start losing your hair, I just said, shave it off. I'm not doing this stuff. And I wore it to the car, and I thought, why am I ashamed? What am I hiding? I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I'm beautiful. If I'm going to teach my kids how to embrace who they are and their beauty, whether I'm going to be bald for the rest of my life or not, whether I can make it through chemo or not, I am not going to live right now in this moment ashamed of anything. And so I took the wig off, and I donated it, and I ran around bald, and then I'd write on the back of my head, fight like a girl. And so I just I had fun with it. And I thought, if I can be an example for somebody who needs that strength, I'm going to walk around with my bald little head. And I wore my heels and I dressed and I thought, you know what, I'm going to embrace this and I'm going to go big. I'm going to do this. And I ride a motorcycle and I had my bike. I have a sports bike and I had it wrapped with pink and it has a big breast cancer awareness sign on it. And I thought, I didn't get my mammogram and do what I was supposed to do. So I love riding my bike. I rode it until the doctors are like, you are on some chemicals.
Get off the bike.
Get off the bike.
Oh, thank you for sharing all of the dimensions of that story and where it left you and how optimistic and just the idea that, oh, I have neuropathy, my hands and my feet don't work as well. Oh, I better find a different way. This lightness is like, it's so beautiful and raw and honest and so human. I am so grateful that you shared all that you just did. And one of the things that I love to do whenever I have guests here is get them to share something from their own warrior journey. Things that you're looking to create more of, which I have a guess as to what you're going to say, and then what you still struggle with.
I want to impact change. I want to be able to find a way to help people know that it's okay. Like where you're at's okay. It's just today. Tomorrow's another day, and you get to create what tomorrow looks like. And I want to find a way to do that. And that's my next journey in where I'm going, is to find a platform or a way to spring off and help create that and do that for other people.
Well, you're doing that right now. You could be saying just what they need to hear. What about the things that you struggle with?
Wow, consistency. I'm all over the map. So consistency is something I struggle with. I love having fun. So to pin me down to write something or pin me down is something I really want to improve. But if you're staying stagnant, there's no way to improve. You will decline because life moves forward and you're not moving forward with it. So just you're going backwards. There's no standing still. If you think about it, there is no stagnant. You're either going forward or you're falling backwards because time and life keeps moving forward. So it's moving without you, which means you're moving backwards. So the idea that you can just stay the same, to me, doesn't exist. You don't stay the same. You aren't the same today as you were yesterday. You're older. Your cells are older. Your you're older. You're different. Yesterday changed who you are today. So you don't get to stay who you are today. Even if you're not making active change, you're declining because you are now older and different than you were yesterday. So
my brain just blew because I'm like, oh my God, I am older than I was yesterday. Yes, my cells are one day older.
No, but that's amazing because so much maturity comes with age, right? As long as we're growing, oh my gosh, that means and I learned that with talking to some of these women. I mean, they got their fashion on, they got their leopard print. They're not sad that they're older. They're embracing and exciting. They got to live so much life. So if we view age as a blessing, not that is a bad thing, good. Here's what would be sad is if I'm the same person I was yesterday and I'm getting older, now I'm sad.
I would love for you to tell all the listeners, what is your warrior magic?
My warrior magic is, I believe, is to be able to see people and to pull out of them it's that perspective. I have a perspective that I think goes beyond just what I see in front of me. I have the ability to see around, under, kind of through. I listen. I'm very good at body language and catching nonverbal cues, and I use that, and I'm able to then see and speak into the situation. So maybe I'm going to see it from a different perspective from it. I'm a chameleon very much. So who do you need me to be in that moment to bring you to where you need to be? And I can do that very well. So listening to somebody, seeing where they're at, and then really drawing out information from them to bring them to that next step is what I do very well. That would be my warrior magic. To me, it is. Yeah.
Lori, I loved this conversation.
This was
I
amazing.
love your heart. I love your light in the world. I'm so grateful that there are people like you, and the work that you're doing is so, so important. So many amazing nuggets here today. I'm so grateful that you
Oh,
took the time to be with me.
well, thank you so much. This is just great to be able to speak to you and be part of this program is just incredible. I feel very honored.
Thanks to everybody for listening to another episode of Warriors at Work and letting us be a part of your warrior journey. You can ask questions and make suggestions for future topics at jc@jeanniecoomber.com. Connect with me personally on LinkedIn and Instagram, and join us on the Warrior Conversations channel on YouTube and at the Warrior Magic Community page on Facebook. You can find links to all these places on my website, jeanniecoomber.com, and most importantly, be sure to tell friends about us, subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spreaker, and Spotify. It helps others find the show and puts more warrior magic out into the world.